Sunita, Kohli, it is a great pleasure for me to welcome you here to Edinburgh, to the Business School, on behalf of the Asia Scotland Institute. We are so pleased that you come to talk to us this evening about your work, not only as the most decorated interior designer in India to date, being, I know, an equivalent of being a Dame of the British Empire, but in the Indian context, but also for your work not only in contemporary design, but in restoring the works in India of Sir Edwin Lutyens and other British architects. I wonder if you could start by sharing with us some thoughts on your philosophy and your feelings behind your work as a designer, and perhaps after that we could talk about the restoration work you've done.
Well, thank you for the very kind remarks, Roddy. And I'm delighted to be here in Scotland and representing the Asia Scotland Institute and at the University of Edinburgh. I think as far as design philosophy goes, one has been a designer for 42 years, and along the way there are many values that one has held dear, and one of them is integrity of work. And creativity must also go side by side by doing business in an extremely ethical way, because I think that is what has staying power and that is what attracts the same client over and over again, and which is what we've found in our studio practice. And of course, as far as my design philosophy is concerned, as I said again, creativity is one part of it, but also hard work is another.
Good. I've just thought of something else I wanted to ask you. When you were speaking in Glasgow yesterday, and indeed in the conversation this morning, you talked about your view of the importance of psychology in the training of someone in design and in understanding architecture. Could you elaborate on that a little bit, because I know you feel strongly about that.
Yes, I think architects and designers need to be almost trained psychologists, because you deal in a very intimate way with somebody else.
Yes.
And particularly if it is a private home that one is designing, whether it is small or grand, for that person, that is the environment, the only environment that really that they can control.
Yes.
And so they're very passionate about it, which is correct. But in trying to achieve what they have aspired to, there's a distance, and particularly if there's a husband and wife involved.
Yes.
Both of them might have totally divergent views.
Yes.
And or if it's a larger project like a hotel, which I've been a hotel designer for most of my professional life, or even a public building, which is another thing that I've specialized in. You're constantly dealing with people, and I think one needs to have almost a professional training how to deal with them.
Yes.
So that in the long run, what one is aspiring to do as a designer, you get that across.
That's very interesting. One of the great strains of your work, themes of your work, has been working on the work of restoration work of Sir Edwin Lutyens in Delhi particularly, and other British architects. Lutyens, really quite a well-known figure in Great Britain.
Yes.
Very associated by us with the architecture of the Raj. What is it about that work that inspires and interests you? Because you've done many, many buildings, as I understand it.
Yes, I have. Actually, I would say I've had the honor to work on these buildings, because it is a great privilege that one was selected to work, and I've always worked on these buildings in an honorary capacity.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, working like this, I'm giving back to my own country.
Yes.
By restoring these buildings. And what has always attracted me, and my first work with or working on Lutyens' building, which was Rashtrapati Bhavan, it began in 1982.
Yes.
So what really struck me as the genius of the man, what Philip Davies called that he created a double magnificence.
Yeah.
It was a perfect synthesis of Western classical architecture with very strong vernacular idioms of Indian architecture.
Yes.
So that is what, and I'm a research-based designer, so much of my research was done in Great Britain because, as you know, I mean, all the great drawings, etc., are in the Royal Institute of British Architects.
Yeah.
and one is constantly learning. And then I had another engagement in '86 with Viceroy's House, which we call Rashtrapati Bhavan, and then with Hyderabad House. So I've been very fortunate that I have been selected to do these buildings.
You're a very successful professional woman.
I don't know about that.
And as you consider perhaps people of your children's age, that's to say people earlier in their career, and particularly in the context of what the Asia Scotland Institute aim is to do, which is to equip people in Scotland with the skills to engage in Asia through understanding culture and commerce. What is your comment on that? Is that a good thing to be doing, and to what extent is working to understand each other's cultures important in the 21st century?
I think it's very important because the world has become smaller and smaller.
Yes.
And so I think different peoples and different cultures must engage with each other.
Yeah.
And in our instance, I mean, our various children, we have 3, they've all been educated in the West as far as the university education is concerned. But they've all come back to our own country to work, and which has pleased us enormously. So I think you come back with having learned and understood the West.
Yes.
And that is the biggest strength with which, say, children of that generation, I'm talking about the early 30s, what it has given them, meeting people from other countries whilst they've been studying abroad.
Yeah. Sunita, thank you. We're looking forward to hearing your talk shortly. You talked about the synchronicity of both Indian and English culture as they came together in Lutyens' work, and I know there'll be many questions after your talk, but thank you again for being with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Evening.
Thank you so
very
much. Thank you.